Hey, it's Johnny, and in this video, I'm going back to Oz, and I'll be making a Wizard of Oz diorama display thing. I don't know, I never know what to call anything that I make, but I hope you enjoy the video, and thank you for watching. So here I'm starting out by creating the Emerald City background, and I'm just drawing it first on some scrap paper to make a stencil that I'm going to trace onto a green metallic paper, and I'm also using a reference photo from the movie for this. Also, this video is part of the Wizard of Oz collaboration hosted by the Friendship Express collab group, and I will link the playlist in the description, so feel free to check out all the other videos in there as well. For the next part, I decided to sculpt one of the angry apple trees that Dorothy and Scarecrow encounter early on their journey. I've been really into making trees, plants, and flowers lately, so I thought this would be perfect. And once the trunk piece was sculpted, I set it aside to dry and got started on making some apples. While the apple tree and apples were drying, I decided to prepare the wooden base piece. I wanted to do a clay base, so I thought making some deep cuts in the wood might hold the clay better. Not sure if it'll make a difference, but I figured it couldn't hurt. Next, I carved out a little path that will be the yellow brick road. Then I used a piece of foil to give the surrounding area some texture before carving out the bricks. Here I'm carving out a spot for the tree trunk. I used a mixture of Mod Podge clay and water here. I've found that it's really sticky and dries nicely with the rest of the clay, so I'm using it here to help hold the tree trunk in place while I add more clay to the bottom. I also like to brush this mixture onto really thin pieces of clay to keep them from cracking and breaking while they dry. For the arms, I decided to place them in a kind of angry hands on hips position, and I used pieces of a wooden skewer that I just chopped up. I also used large beads of super glue to create the elbow joints. Next, I decided to sculpt some poppies out of UV resin. I sculpted a total of 6 poppies, I believe, and each one had about 5 or 6 petals. I also wanted to add something from the darker part of Oz, so I drew the sign from the Haunted Forest that reads, "I'd turn back if I were you." And next, I superglued all the pieces to the clay base. However, my apple tree was still missing its leaves and apples. I originally wanted to use some fake moss stuff that I got from Dollar Tree, but it was so thin and flimsy and the apples were going to be way too heavy for it, so I decided to use some green fiberglass pieces. I made a green UV resin mixture with resin dye and green chrome powder to hold them all together. For the very first glass piece, I used super glue to attach it to the tree. Once it was dry, I used the green UV mix for the rest. The fiberglass pieces are really transparent, and I made sure the UV light was able to pass through them nicely, so I wasn't worried about any uncured resin spots. After supergluing all the apples to the tree, it was time to paint. Next, I brought out the Emerald City piece and covered the front with UV resin. I used the soft bendy UV resin from Let's Resin for this part because I needed the piece to curve around the edge of the wooden base. Once it was glued on, though, I brushed the back of it with a few coats of regular UV resin to make it solid, and I did that part off camera. Then I painted the base blue and it was done. Alright, thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it. Feel free to like the video, leave a comment, and subscribe to the channel. I would greatly appreciate it. Have a great day, and I will talk to you in the next one.